Hey Odysseus, what do you say we try to get a new Relic trophy today? Hey there, my name is Salandrak and welcome back to another episode of my Terraria for the Worthy Master Mode playthrough series. When we left off last time, we had our overconfidence humbled by failing to defeat both the Eater of Worlds and Skeletron a couple of times. But going into this episode, we're bound and determined to be something to get a new trophy. Will we succeed? Let's find out. Heading into the gameplay sessions for this episode, I definitely had a good idea of what all I wanted to accomplish. In addition to getting a new relic, I've also got several infrastructure and exploration projects in mind. I want to get my health maxed out, build a Cavern Pylon village, and continue to find more gear upgrades. And I'm not gonna lie, I ended up putting in over 7 hours of gameplay to complete at least one of those objectives. Consequently, I'll do a lot of skipping through the boring stuff as well as some fast forwarding. But to start things off, I decided it's time to add another level to my home base tower. Now that I've got a proper herb garden, I would like to have my alchemy lab and potion storage up near the flower beds, so I get to work building. I decided to simply go with stone slab for this upper level, keeping a similar aesthetic as the lower crafting and storage area. An upper frame goes in slightly narrower than the base, with a little bit of an arched corner for architectural interest. Since this is my personal stronghold, I put in sturdy lead doors to the room, though I'll later swap these out for boreal doors that I think look nicer. I then add background walls going with stone brick, and like the lower level, a bottom row of mudstone brick topped with plank. Since I have a paint sprayer now, I can have the walls painted as I place them rather than paint them afterwards, a nice little convenience. I then decide to add a stripe of boreal wall to further break up the texture and make the room a little bit more fancy than the lower level. Windows get placed, a few torches added, and it's looking pretty good. The next task I want to accomplish is completing the Torch God event, so I head down to an open cavern area below my base and start carving out more space for the event. When 1.4 came out, they added a hidden luck mechanic that initially penalized you if you didn't have biome-specific torches in the area. But they changed that afterwards, so you get no penalty for having generic or wrong biome torches, but there is a luck boost you get for having torches that match the biome you're in. And I think it looks a lot nicer and adds to the ambiance of the biomes. If you've never done this event before, you basically have to place at least 100 torches in the nearby surroundings, which will then start to shoot at you. Because I don't want to have to fight monsters while doing this bullet hell event, I wall off the area to prevent mobs from spawning. Oh hey, looks like I got a nymph down here who drops one of the information items needed for the cell phone. Looks like my slime minion isn't doing much damage, so I help her out, and yep, she dropped the metal detector. Nice. I then start placing rows of platforms across the top of the arena. This is where I'll place my torches for the event, and a few minutes later notice the tied up goblin tinkerer off to the side, having almost been killed by a skeleton. So I rush over to free him so that even if he dies, he'll be able to respawn in a suitable house. Finding him was one of my other goals for today, as he allows you to reforge items for better mods, and sells the Tinkerer's Workshop, which allows you to combine accessories to make new upgraded versions. I then start placing torches, but before I get too many down, remember to check what potions I have in my piggy bank. Not as many as I would like, so I decided to put that on hold for a bit and do some fishing instead. Before heading down here, I had checked with my angler and he wants a cavern level guide voodoo fish, which I get soon enough and head to the surface to turn it in. Having left the area with the Goblin Tinkerer, he was able to warp to a new home at the NPC motel, so I head over to get some rocket boots and the workstation, and I'm soon the proud owner of a pair of speedy flight-enabled Spectre boots. I also combine a few informational accessories to make a GPS, make a few shine potions for the Torch God, and then head back down to do the event. More torches get placed, and soon enough the lights dim and the event has started. I quickly drink my buffs and start dodging the fire. I get hit a couple of times, but overall do pretty well, and am rewarded with the Torch God's Favor, which will turn regular torches into biome-specific torches when placed. The platforms get removed, and I move on to the next task, converting this area into a Cavern Pylon village. But first, I decide to explore the surrounding areas a little bit, and while surveying a spider cavern, my daughter distracted me with the excited announcement that her cardboard cat house she'd been working on was all finished, causing death number 26. Back at the surface, I decide to test out a money-making method I remember seeing on a speedrun video once. First, I check the sell price of 6 topaz, which is 53.5 silver. Then I turn those 6 topaz into stained glass windows, and yeah, huge profit margin as the windows sell for over 7 gold. So remember that trick if you ever need cash and have a bunch of otherwise useless gems lying around. Next, I gather some construction materials and head back to the caverns to make my Pylon village. While carving out a second room, a fairy visits and shows me a treasure room next door, revealing a heart crystal and a gold chest containing, at long last, a magic mirror. I'll skip through the construction of the Pylon village though, as I'm not doing anything fancy down here. 4 basic rooms get made with a fishing pond down below, and then I assign my arms dealer and nurse to the duplex, allowing me to purchase the Pylon. A bit later, I put my life form analyzer in my inventory and then hang out near a spider cave, and soon find the stylist NPC. But then a little later at another spider cavern, I get juked by a jumper spider for death number 27. I head back down to recover my gold and loot the chest the spider was guarding, and then find another spider cavern. I'm gonna have no shortage of spots to farm in early hard mode for some hard mode summoner gear, and this one even has a web covered chest. Eventually I start to find more of what I'm really down here for, heart crystals. A cabin at the end of a rail line has a portrait to the lovebirds of the mechanic and goblin tinkerer, so I make sure to take that so I can decorate their housing with it. And then in a glowing mushroom biome I found 3 more heart crystals, maximum life achieved. I keep exploring though, as I'll need more hearts for fighting arena heart lanterns, and I'm getting pretty close to the Underworld as there is lots more lava now. A bit deeper, the background art changes and I find another heart crystal, bringing me up to 4 for lanterns. A little further, I see the ash layer begin, pocketed with lots of lava, and then I'm in the Underworld. I YOLO off a drop and am greeted with a shadow chest, but won't be able to open it until I find a shadow key in the dungeon. I also find a hell forge, but don't have a strong enough pickaxe to mine it, and bombs don't work on it either. Since all the houses down here are made out of burn you alive hellstone brick, I decide to bail and warp myself home using my mirror. Next up, it's time to start exploring some of the other biomes, and I decide to start with the Antlion Desert. There weren't any nest tunnels down from the surface, so I decide to find an entry point along the side edge. It takes a while for me to find a spot that won't have too much sand falling from above, but then I'm in and set to work exploring. This biome is extremely dangerous, with tons of deadly rolling cacti and lots of fast-moving mobs. But I do manage to find some more life crystals, several desert treasure chests. Eventually, I get caught up on a wall and death number 28 sends me home. 23 gold poorer, ouch. Apparently, when I offloaded some of my inventory into my piggy bank earlier, I forgot to save the money. Oops. After sorting my inventory, I decide to head back down. That's too much gold to leave lying on the ground. But at the entrance, get charged by an Antlion charger, death 29, but hey, only dropped 35 silver this time. Heading back down again, I find a desert cabin and off to the side see the bugs that stole my coin. They eat tungsten from my mini shark and then my gold is recovered, as well as my tombstone. I eventually find the other edge of the Antlion nest, having never seen the golfer, and decide to call it for this expedition. I'm planning to attempt the Eater of Worlds later, so I head over to the Corruption to replace the regular torches with corrupt ones, and also use some Scarab bombs to drain some of the lava pools a bit. Then I head into the top of the dungeon a little bit deeper to see if I can find a water bolt, but no dice. I can't remember exactly what depth triggers bad things to happen though, and I don't feel like pressing my luck and warp home. Next on my list of activities is some fishing and space exploration. Since it's night, I head over to my ocean Pylon, then go swimming to find some coral, an ingredient for sonar potions, which lets you see what you're going to catch before you reel it in. Scouring the ocean floor, I find plenty, and then head home to start making a rope up to the heavens. I get mobbed by harpies though, and head down to the surface to finish them off, but then climb back up and am greeted with a sky lake just to the side of my rope. Perfect! I don't feel like messing with the harpies though, so a featherfall potion active, I fly off to the side and begin exploring. While drifting downward, I find a cabin island. These things are all corrupted in For the Worthy, and the chests are locked with the same keys that are used to open dungeon chests. But fortunately, I got a key from a broken pot in the dungeon earlier, and I'm able to open it to find wings! These fledgling wings are nowhere near as good as hard mode wings, but are a welcome addition to my mobility items. I spend the next 20 minutes or so flying around exploring the skies. I manage to locate a few more islands and make additional ropes to space to keep searching. But sadly, I don't have any other golden keys to open any of the chests I find. Next up, it's time to do some fishing. Although the Sky Island chests are locked, another way to get the same loot items they hold is to fish up sky crates from the sky lakes. So I head to the cloud above my base, make a protective fishing shack, then pop some potions and start fishing. I catch a balloon pufferfish, which, as a balloon item, can be combined with double jump items to increase jump height. And a little bit later, my first sky crate, which has a shiny red balloon. Several sky crates later, and I've gotten 2 Star Fury swords, which is needed to make the endgame Zenith sword, another set of fledgling wings, and a bunch of gold, iron, and wood crates as well. I keep fishing until the potions run out, then head home to open the remaining crates. My red balloon and sandstorm in a bottle get combined into a sandstorm in a balloon, and combined with the wings, I've now got a pretty impressive vertical height I can reach. One of the gold crates has a hardy saddle, which summons a turtle mount, and then the iron chests give me a pair of falcon blades. Great auto swing weapons with pretty decent damage. I actually remember getting one of these in my very first world in Terraria and loved it, so I'm pretty excited to have one here. But I think the most important loop drop of all is something that elevates my character Odysseus to an appropriate level of manliness. A ginger beard. Ah, just look at that, all sorts of manly, especially holding that balloon. Wood crates mostly just have ore, bait, and potions, and having done some initial desert exploration, time to give the jungle a try. There's a cave heading down at the edge of the jungle, so that's where I start. I quickly find several wood treasure chests though, and before I really get into the jungle proper, my inventory is already full. Quick warp to base to stow my treasures, then right back to the jungle again. I use my scarab bombs on a water-covered lava pool to get some obsidian. I'll need these for obsidian potions to mine for hellstone in the Underworld, as well as an obsidian skull to allow me to touch meteor and hellstone bricks. Nearby, I find my first jungle shrine chest, which has a boomstick, but I get distracted by the treasure in my full inventory and get chopped by a man-eater for death number 30. I head right back though, and then continue exploring the jungle. A little bit further, I find one of my goals for this trip, a beehive full of honey. I'm going to add some honey pools to my fighting arena so I can get the honey buff, which really boosts your life regen for 30 seconds. I take care not to break the larva though, I'll definitely want a bezoar before I try the queen bee. About 10 minutes later, another goal item is found, the Staff of Regrowth. This thing increases herb and seed drops when harvesting plants, which will really boost my potion production. Eventually though, my inventory and piggy bank are really full, so back to base I go. I gotta say though, that much time in the jungle with only one death was pretty good. There are a number of decent gear items you can craft from jungle materials, including a nice yo-yo and some mage armor, but I'm not interested in using any of those quite yet, so I hold off on making anything. As it gets close to morning, I finally get around to moving my potion materials up to the new tower room, which now houses my merchant and sports some boreal furniture. I had also replaced the torches with granite lanterns for a nice effect. After that, I dig out a new area beneath the tower to serve as a honey reservoir. They changed the physics of liquids in 1.4 so that the liquid duplication trick doesn't work quite as well as it used to, but it still works, it's just much slower going, especially with honey and lava. Soon I have a pool that is good enough for now and go ahead and fill more buckets of honey for my boss fighting arenas. Over in the corruption, I start working some more on the terrain and drop a scarab bomb to drain another lava pool. It breaks the shadow orb and I can see that it dropped a vile thorn, so I dive into the lava to get it, then warp back to base to heal with a nurse avoiding death. I try reforging it with the goblin and decide to content myself with a godly mod as it's a pretty expensive item to change the mods on. Then I head back to the corruption with several buff potions in my inventory. I make a pool of honey in the middle of the fighting area and get to test out my vile thorn, which does pretty well against the eaters, as does my falcon blade. Then the stairs get adjusted so it can run in and out of the honey. Scarab bombs opened up paths to 2 more shadow orbs, but then I remembered that I forgot to bring any goblin spiky balls, which I also wanted to try against the boss. So I head to the goblin tinkerer, then back to the corruption and smash the 3rd orb, summoning the Eater of Worlds. I quickly find though that with his head moving around me, the rest of the body isn't moving out of the way, making my whole platform area inaccessible, and before long get my skull crushed in. Death number 31. But I did get him down to half health, which is a whole lot better than previous attempts, so progress, right? Undeterred, I craft more buff potions, grab materials to make some worm food, then head back to the chasms. In order to get the body to actually move, I get the idea to make some cross paths between the vertical shafts, a job well suited for scarab bombs. I also add a honey pool to this upper area in case the lower one gets blocked off. My preparations complete, I pop the potions, including a Reds potion that gives me an Inferno buff, and start the fight. I get constricted several times, but can tell I'm breaking some heads as soon there's some smaller sections flying around. I make a little more progress than last time, but eventually get destroyed yet again. Death number 32. I head back to the Corruption, hoping to find some Shadow Scales dropped by the destroyed segments of the boss, and manage to pick some up. Between the two fights, I've got 26 total, and combined with some ancient shadow armor I got from the Eaters of Souls, I have enough materials to complete a set with crafted Shadow Scale Mail. It has one less defense than the Platinum armor, but the 15% movement bonus should be nice. Armed with my new armor and another round of potions, I head back to the chasms, toss a bunch of spiky balls, and then start the fight yet again. I end up getting trapped above him at the surface, but finally make it back down. Soon I've got at least 3 worms after me that have lots of damaged segments, but that's as far as I get. Death number 33. So I'm 0 for 3 against the Eater today, having not made much additional progress compared to the day's first attempt, and decide to call it on this boss for now. I head back to grab any scales I can find, then back at base go ahead and make a Nightmare Pickaxe, which is strong enough to mine Ebonstone, Hellstone, and Obsidian, so it wasn't a total waste of time. I then head over to the dungeon to upgrade the arena with honey. It's a little late in the night, but I'm feeling impulsive, pop my potions, and talk to the old man to start the fight. Compared to last time, I'm focused on hitting the hands while dodging like crazy, trying to dip in the honey when I can to keep the regen buff active. And then misfortune strikes. My butterfingers somehow manage to hit the mount button, and suddenly I'm hopping around to my slime mount, resulting in my organs getting ruptured for death number 34. One of the downsides of Skeletron though is that you have to wait a full day for the old man to respawn so you can fight him again the next night. But to keep me entertained in the meantime, the game was nice and decided to throw a slime rain at me. A few minutes later, King Slime has awoken, and though I got close to dying, eventually slay the slime. I passed the day sorting inventory, doing a fishing quest, and then fish up some more Eboncoin in the Corruption. I've done enough fishing quests that I'm starting to get some pretty good fishing gear, so my chances of getting good catches has gone up quite a bit since last episode. Soon it's night and I head back to the dungeon to make another attempt on Skeletron. This time I try using my boomstick. It has much lower rate of fire but shoots 3 projectiles at a time for more base damage. A few minutes later I've almost got one hand down and the other is more than half dead, but I accidentally land on Mr. Spinhead for death number 35. So now I've got to wait another day before I can make another attempt, so I load up on sonar and fishing potions to further boost my potion materials stockpile, starting with more Eboncoin from the Corruption. 4 minutes later and I've got 10 of them, so I head to the angler to see what today's quest is, and I swear he's trolling me. It's a Fishatron. Oh well, I was gonna do some cavern fishing next anyways for some armored cavefish, so I don't mind. By the time the potions run out, I've gotten the quest fish and 11 armored cavefish. I go ahead and stock up on potions for the next Skeletron attempt and head over there before nightfall. I decide to remove one of the middle rows of platforms to increase my fall speed between levels or something like that. Night eventually falls and I start another bout against the boss. Once again I'm using the boomstick because I like how it performed last time. Now I just need to dodge better, which I overall fail to do, and then run into an Eater of Souls that had wandered into the arena. Death number 36. More potions get made, and then I have the bright idea of maybe I should reforge that boomstick to increase its damage. I spend about a platinum, but eventually get its best mod possible, Unreal, for 2 more raw damage, but increased speed, velocity, critical strike chance, and knockback. Hopefully it will be enough. Once it's morning, I do another fishing quest and get an angler vest, further improving my fishing gear. I then harvest my pumpkins, cook up a bunch of pumpkin pies, and then pause the recorder so my character can nap until nighttime. But I suspect that old Skeletron might be getting scared, and instead of fighting him when night falls, I instead get a Bloodmoon. No hiding under the volcano this time, I stay out all night slaughtering my foes with my falcon blade and boomstick, and finally get myself a money trough, so that's happy. I also get a beautiful wedding dress that I bet Odysseus will look ravishing in. Just kidding, it's worth more sold to a vendor. Another day of waiting, so I harvest my trees below the tower, do another fishing quest, then go hunting for worms during a rainstorm. I end up pausing the recorder again until night, then resume back at the dungeon for the next Skeletron attempt. Before the fight, I added another honey pool on the right side of the arena, which should be a little bit easier to get in and out of during the fight. And after a few minutes of hectic fighting, I managed to get both arms destroyed and enter phase 2. Progress at last. I decided to try out the mini shark on this phase, but then failed to shield dash out of the way from the head and get mangled for death number 37. Even though I only got him to about 75% health, I'm actually feeling pretty good about the fight and the progress I've made, and I'm bound and determined to get that trophy. So I paused the recorder, sleep the day away, and kind of forgot to unpause until I was already halfway through the next Skeletron fight. So sorry that I don't get to show the full fight, but let's be honest, haven't we all seen enough of this guy for one video? This time around, I've gotten in a pretty good groove of circling around the boss, which is a great way to avoid his skull projectiles, and after several minutes of tense combat, the boss is finally defeated, and I've got my 3rd Relic trophy. I open the loot bag in the top of the dungeon and score a bone glove and a skeleton mask, and then decide to head down into the dungeon for a few minutes. It seems like there's a ton more spikes than usual, and I clear a bunch of them out of the way as I head down. I find my first chest but don't have any keys yet to open it. A little below that I find the jungle hard mode chest, which I mark with the J of torches to easily find later, and a little below that find one of the main treasures I'm after, a pair of Waterbolt spellbooks, which I suspect will have a great impact on my next fight against the Eater of Worlds. I get to the bottom of this main shaft and then decide that's far enough, almost die, and warp back to base. Over at my fighting arena, I place Skeletron's Relic and then call it a day. Thanks for watching, please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!